Hello and welcome back to Perspectives of Jerry. Today, we're diving into one of the most interesting personal experiments that I've ever done, and that's called the Little Caesars diet. Now, you might be thinking, Jerry, Little Caesars? For a diet? Really? And trust me, I get you. But this plan was born from a simple yet powerful idea patterned off a legendary, albeit very quirky, predecessor called the Twinkie Diet. For more information on that, go ahead and just type the Twinkie Diet into Google and you will get all of the scales. So to sum it up, in 2010, a nutrition professor lost 27 pounds in 10 weeks by primarily eating Twinkies, Oreos, and other junk food, all while maintaining a caloric deficit. His point? Weight loss at its core is about calories in versus calories out. While I'm certainly not recommending the Twinkie only diet, the principle of it resonated with me. And I wanted to see if I could apply a strict caloric control using foods that I generally enjoyed and were still somewhat healthy, proving that sustainability and adherence are king, even with some might consider an unconventional diet food. All right, so buckle up, folks. We're gonna go on a breakdown of how I planned, executed, and actually exceeded my weight loss goals with using Little Caesars as my diet plan. Let's start with the foundation, the theory. My starting point was recognizing that while extreme diets like keto, carnivore, and others can yield rapid results, they often struggle with long-term sustainability. They demand massive sacrifices in food choice, and that can lead to compliance issues. Now, if you can make any of these diets work, I'm not saying don't do them, but they do require a lot of discipline for you to do. And if you fall off of it, well, the results reverse, unfortunately. But that's true of any diet. So stick with me here. My hypothesis on this was simple. If you could create a consistent calorie controlled meal plan, even with fun foods, and pair it with an intermittent fasting, I would see consistent weight loss without feeling deprived. So the duration was for me to commit to 7 weeks, running from June 25th to August 10th. Now, just as a reminder, I did this diet a couple years ago. And so this is not a recent thing, but trust me, Little Caesars and the other foods that I used haven't changed. So you can try this if you'd like. The proposed loss that I was looking at with this diet here, based on calculations on a specific daily caloric deficit, projected a loss of 2.8 pounds per week, aiming for a total of 19.6 pounds by the end of the 6 weeks. Now, so the math here was clear. A 483 calorie daily deficit was the target, and the question was, could Little Caesars help me hit that? Well, here's how. The method. We've gone from theory, now we're doing the method. This wasn't just about eating Little Caesars. This was about a structured approach combining intermittent fasting with a very specific meal plan. My daily protocol started pretty easy. In the morning, men's multivitamin covered the basic nutrient gaps that I was going to think of. Hydration, this is an absolute critical thing. I'm always saying drink more water. This really means drink more water. My target was to hit 120 or more ounces of water daily, supplemented with Element Tea, electrolyte mix, which is only 10 calories each, and diet sodas like Diet Dr. Pepper, Diet Mountain Dew, and such. Hydration, though, is the key to feeling full and energized. So if you're ever feeling hungry, take a drink of water. Maybe that feeling will go away. I had planned to put light calisthenics into this program. Unfortunately, that didn't work, but the weight loss numbers that I'm going to be discussing here are strictly from the dietary NOS and not because I introduced any type of calisthenics or exercise program. I do work a sedentary job as IT. my hobbies were fencing, lightsaber fighting, that type of stuff. So it did keep me somewhat active, but those weren't enough to actually skew any numbers, just so you're aware. So now the meal breakdowns where it's really going to get interesting. My lunch was only 278 calories. Now this part was not Little Caesars. This was part of a different diet program that I had done a couple years before this one. I had hard-boiled eggs, or hard-boiled egg, excuse me, just one. Sliced rotisserie chicken, sliced Black Forest ham, and a mix of fresh vegetables, which was usually broccoli, carrots, radishes, celery, peppers, and then on top of that was an ambrosia apple. Well, I should say it was an ambrosia or a gala. It was depending on what I had room to, but they were both about the same in sugar and calorie and carb balance. But in any case, 278 calories, that was my lunch. And I did this lunch every day for 7 weeks. So meal prepping lunches. Got a weight scale, everything. It broke down to the hard-boiled egg, which was like 2 grams of protein. The chicken and the Black Forest ham were both 1.5 ounces a piece, so I was getting 5 ounces of protein. And the vegetables were another 4 ounces, mixed together between the broccoli, the carrots, the radish, the celery, and the green peppers. And the apple was about 4 ounces. So altogether, I was probably having about 13, 14 ounces of food at lunch. But still, 278 calories, less than 300. That's pretty impressive. Now, supper time. Well, supper got bigger because, well, supper's usually bigger. 1,250 calories. The star of the show, Little Caesars Buffalo Wings, which were 560 calories per box, and the Little Caesars Pepperoni Puffs, which were 690 calories. Now, if you like a breakdown of their protein and carbs and stuff like that, you can look those up on the website. But I might be able to tell you. I'll tell you when we get to the macro section. So the total daily intake between both of these was only 1,538 calories, give or take maybe a drink mix or two. The balance here was intentional. A nutrient-dense, lower-calorie lunch to start, followed by a larger, satisfying dinner that allowed me for my preferred fun foods. I love chicken wings. I do love pizza too, but the pizza puffs were easier to maintain control over. And all of it within my strict, calorie target. I'll tell you this, I went to Little Caesars every day, every night for this. I got to be like Norm at Cheers. They'd be like, Jerry, when I walked in. Everybody knew me. I was a daily face. So, the mathematics here, I want to recap some numbers here because precision was key in making this work. My calculated daily calculated calorie budget for days was 2,021 calories. Now I will mention that as I progressed in my weight loss, this calorie budget did change here and there. I don't have those exact numbers of when those actually changed because I didn't update it as often. But let's just start with 2021, standard 2,000 calorie diet plus a little. My total proposed calorie intake was 1,538 calories. This created a constant daily deficit of 483 calories. Now, those macros that I mentioned, the 1,583 calories, the big macros, carbs, protein, and fat. I had 83 grams of carbs, I had 94 grams of protein, and I had 71 grams of fat. The nutritional profile ensured a decent amount of protein for satiety. I was satiated. There we go. And of course for muscle preservation, while keeping overall calories tightly controlled. This was all about the numbers. It was a numbers game, proving that you can hit your target even if your dinner comes from a pizza chain. Now, let's talk results. After 7 weeks of precise tracking, strategic eating, and yes, plenty of Little Caesars, and trust me, I love Little Caesars pizza, I love chicken wings. By the time I got to the end, I was really glad to be done with the diet, and I probably skipped on pizza and wings for about a month. But barring that, the results, I started the journey at 267 pounds even. My proposed weight loss goal was 19.6. The actual outcome, a total of 22.2 pounds overall in a 7-week period. So I exceeded my goal by 2.6 pounds. Fantastic. So I will say that the Little Caesars diet was a definitive success. Wow, talking. Exceeding my initial projection by 2.6 pounds. The experiment solidified my belief that a caloric deficit is paramount to weight loss. As I learned a long time ago in my weight loss journey, you cannot outrun your fork. You really can't. You can't go for a 3 mile run then have a donut. You just reversed all the change you made. So sustainability, but you can't come from incorporating the foods that you actually enjoy. You can achieve impressive results without feeling deprived, as long as you are strategic and consistent. So this goes to show that you don't need a fancy, expensive, restrictive food diet to lose weight. You just need a plan, a lot of discipline, and a little bit of healthy creativity. So, if you guys found this breakdown of this fantastically goofy diet that I did a couple years ago interesting, please do hit that like button, and also please do subscribe to Perspectives of Jerry for more insights and more, maybe possibly more experiments. Also, please do leave a comment telling me something about a diet that you tried that you didn't think was probably going to work, but you stuck with it and hey, it worked. Or maybe you think my theory is complete BS. Who knows? I'd love to hear from you. I read all the comments, and I try to reply to as many as I can. So, thank you for coming to Perspectives with Jerry. Have a great day. Please remember to drink more water.